The Good Steward, a sermon by Reverend John Wesley. Text: Luke chapter 16, verse 2. Give an account of the stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. In what respects are we now God's stewards? When He requires our souls of us, we can be no longer stewards. We will need to give an account for our stewardship. There is no employment of our time, no action or conversation that is purely indifferent, and we can never do more than our duty. The relation which man bears to God, the creature to his Creator, is exhibited to us in the oracles of God under various presentations. Consider as the sinner, a fallen creature. He is there represented as a debtor to his Creator. He is also frequently represented as a servant, which indeed is essential to him as a creature, insomuch that his appellation is given to the Son of God when, in his state of humiliation, he took upon him the form of a servant, being made in the likeness of men. But no character more exactly agrees with the present state of man than that of a steward. Our blessed Lord frequently represents him as such, and there is a peculiar propriety in the representation. It is only in one particular respect, namely, as he is a sinner, that he is styled a debtor, and when he is styled a servant, the appellation is general and indeterminate. But a steward is a servant of a particular kind, such a one as man is in all respects. This appellation is exactly expressive of his situation in the present world, specifying what kind of servant he is to God and what kind of service his divine master expects from him. It may be of use then to consider this point thoroughly and not to make our full improvement of it, In order to this, let us first inquire in what respects we are now God's stewards. Let us secondly observe that when He requires our souls of us, we can be no longer stewards. It will then only remain, as we may, in the third place, observe, to give an account of our stewardship. Sermon Part 1. And first, we are to inquire in what respects we are now God's stewards. We are now indebted to Him for all we have, but although a debtor is obliged to return what he has received, yet until the time of payment comes, he is at liberty to use it as he pleases. It is not so with the steward. He is not at liberty to use what is lodged in his hands as he pleases, but as his master pleases. He has no right to dispose of anything which is in his hands, but according to the will of his Lord. For he is not the proprietor of any of these things, but barely entrusted with them by another, and entrusted on this express condition, that he shall dispose all dispose of all as his master orders. Now, this is exactly the case of every man with relation to God. We are not at liberty to use what he has lodged in our hands as we please, but as he pleases, who alone is the possessor of heaven and earth, the Lord of every creature. We have no right to dispose of anything we have, but according to his will, seeing we are not proprietors of any of these things. They are all, as our Lord speaks, a lottery belonging to another person, nor is anything properly our own in the land of a pilgrimage. We shall not receive the idea, our own things, till we come to our own country. Eternal things only are our own. With all these temporal things, we are barely entrusted by another, the disposer and Lord of all, and he entrusts us with them on this express condition, that we use them only as a master's goods and according to the particular directions which he has given us in his word. On this condition, he hath entrusted us with our souls, our bodies, our goods, and whatever other talents we have received. But in order to impress this weighty truth on our heart, it will be needful to come to particulars. At first, God has entrusted us with our soul, an immortal spirit made in the image of God, together with all the powers and faculties thereof, understanding, imagination, memory, will, and a train of affections, either included in it or closely dependent upon it. Love and hatred, joy and sorrow, respecting present good and evil, desire and aversion, hope and fear, respecting that which is to come. All this St. Paul seems to include in two words when he says, "The peace of God shall keep your hearts and minds." Perhaps, indeed, the later word, "nomata," might rather be rendered "thoughts," provided we take that word in its most extensive sense for every perception of the mind, whether active or passive. In all of this, it is certain we are only stewards. God has entrusted us with these powers and faculties, not that we may employ them according to our own will, but according to the express orders which He has given us. Although it is true that in doing His will, we most effectually secure our own happiness, seeing it is herein only that we can be happy, either in time or in eternity. Thus, we are to use our understanding, our imagination, our memory, wholly to the glory of Him that gave them. Thus, our will is to be wholly given up to Him, and all our affections to be regulated as He directs. We are to love and hate, to rejoice and grieve, to desire and shun, to hope and fear, according to the rule which He prescribes, whose we are, and whom we are to serve in all things. Even our thoughts are not our own. In this sense, they are not at our own disposal, but every deliberate motion of our mind, we are accountable to a great Master. God has, secondly, entrusted us with our bodies, those exquisitely wrought machines, so fearfully and wonderfully made, with all the powers and members thereof. He has entrusted us with the organs of sense